All right, hello and welcome back to another Road to Worlds, Road to Western Nationals. You know, we're doing the thing. We're making strides towards the ultimate goal of IPF Worlds in 2024. But today we're gonna start off with the question of the day from last video. Now, for those who maybe don't know, we're gonna have a secret phrase somewhere in the video. And if you put that secret phrase into a question in the comments below, and that question is a good question, and it's chosen by me and Dylan as a question we will answer, then you get a gift card for a free shirt from Calgary Barbell. So this one comes from
Lehi3830.
Lehi3830. So if you want to go ahead and shoot us an email at support@calgarybarbell.com, and also maybe reply to your own comment with the first 4 letters or so of your email address, just so we can verify, then we'll send that over for you. But good question. And Dylan, what exactly is the question?
My question is, throughout your lifting career, what has been your lowest point where you might have even considered quitting? How did you get over this point?
I think the lowest point for me was definitely post Worlds 23. Sorry, Worlds 22 in South Africa, because that was the first time where an injury actually derailed me to the point where I couldn't lift. I couldn't bodyweight squat, I couldn't empty bar deadlift, and I just didn't know what to do. I lost a massive part of my identity because I think, obviously, with the business and with being a coach, and everything just being so tightly tied and wound into powerlifting for me, it felt like a part of me was just dead, and it's a pretty big part of me. I went through a period of pretty bad depression. So the way that I guess dealt with that, number one, I have a very fantastic sports psychologist. His name's Hugh Gilmore. You can look him up. Podium Psychology. He's in the UK. He's very, very fantastic. One of the biggest things that he, helped me with, and maybe we'll kind of talk about the psychological and then the physical, but psychologically, talking to a sports psychologist, learning to see the signs of, an incoming depression or an incoming really rough emotional time, and to be able to communicate that to people around you when you feel that coming on before you're in that place, was big. Massive, actually. To the point where the last time I had something like that crop up, I was able to tell people around me, they were able to support me, and it was much, much smoother to deal with than the first time when I had this, this injury. And I've dealt with a lot of injuries throughout my career, but none have actually taken me right out of the action. I dealt with a hip injury for a long time, starting in maybe 2015. And that was something where, I could still go in and lift. It was kind of like Russian roulette as to whether it would hurt. Some days I would have an amazing session. Some days I wouldn't feel it at all. Other days, I would feel it so much, so intensely, and on every single set that I would have to call the session. So at least I had those good days. Whereas with the knee, when it got really bad, I couldn't kneel to lay down on the couch or to get out of bed. I couldn't really walk very well. Stairs were torturous, and I live in the 3rd floor on a 2-story walk-up. So that was worse for sure. And those are I guess the psychological ways that I dealt with it. And the physical ways I dealt with it was kind of stumbling through a number of different ways of trying to move without pain and recover. Talked to a number of different practitioners and ended up with Seth, who is regularly on our live streams now, and who we've made reference to and we've made reels with, Dr. Seth Albersworth on Instagram. He kind of opened my eyes to just how far I could regress training so that I could move, and helping me find a starting point for regaining movement and range of motion and that kind of stuff but then also giving me a really good roadmap for how do I progress this movement, and when do I progress it, and what's the intent here? Are we trying to access range of motion, or are we trying to actually add load and create a stimulus out of this? So a lot of that guidance I've really been able to internalize and now kind of apply to subsequent flare-ups with the knee, or my shoulder acting up or whatever. So I think for me those have been the lowest points, and it's been to the point where I've wondered if maybe I'm done, if I've lifted the most I'm gonna lift, if that's it, like if there's in a way like nothing to look forward to in terms of like, strictly speaking performance. And that's been pretty rough. So I mean, I guess if you're watching this and you're feeling anything like that, don't give up hope and try to talk to people around you. If you have the means, like a sports psychologist is just such an underrated thing that I don't think enough people talk about.
Or a psychologist in general.
Yes, or a psychologist in general. I think, for high performance athletes, I think it's just like, it's definitely not something that gets talked about enough. I don't think. Everybody's like, you got to sleep, you got to recover, you got to do all this stuff if you want to be the best. But it's like, you also got to have, pretty well functioning brain and emotional state. And, that stuff being off can really, really f you up. And that's the answer to the question. That being said, let's get into the week of training. So I had my shot, my injection in my knee on Saturday, so about a week ago now. And what they did is they went in, they aspirated, so they took out 4 syringes worth of fluid. I don't know, I was not watching. But there's a lot of fluid that had kind of pooled in there over the last year and a half. And my knee's been very swollen, on and off, but pretty much more swollen than a normal healthy joint the whole time. So he took out a lot of fluid and then put in it's called hyaluronic acid. And it's a viscous gel that is supposed to provide a little bit more lubrication, a little bit more cushioning in the joint, and is supposed to help alleviate some of the symptoms of my arthritis in my knee. So we're hopeful at this point. The recommendation from them was to take a full week off of training. Luckily, this lined up with the deload for my upper body. So I thought, okay, let's piggyback, one thing onto the other and make this, sort of full deload. And then this coming week, my coach, Mike Tashir, and I are gonna have a meeting tomorrow. We're gonna plan actual training starting Monday, which is awesome. I'm thinking some high bar squats, push the conventional deadlift, because I haven't been able to do that in 8 years, and use those as kind of the comp lifts for a block as well, to kind of just make sure we're load limited so that we don't end up progressing too fast and setting things back with the knee. But that's kind of big picture stuff. So this week was pretty chill. I'm gonna probably not spend a huge amount of time talking about my training because it wasn't remarkably exciting. I went through and did some goblet squats on my day one. I did some kickstand deadlifts, which was a throwback to kind of earlier regressions from my deadlift pattern. And I noticed that even just, body weight hinging, focused on that left knee and that left leg, even up to this point where I have very, very low pain and a low number of symptoms and incidence of them, has been kind of shaky, a little unsure. And so far this week, and with that sort of kickstand deadlift, was feeling really good. Felt like I was able to really kind of get into the quad on that side, get a little bit more work out of it. So that was good. And did some overhead pressing that day as well, which I haven't done in a long time. Incline has been kind of iffy on the shoulders. And you might notice on some of the incline sets, I'm really slow on that first rep, trying to get into a good position and not mess anything up or make anything hurt. But I was able to get to a point where I was knocking out some work on the overhead press. Felt really good. And then went through some more bodybuilding stuff. We've kept the myo reps in this week in a slightly different capacity. So previously I was doing myo reps where we'd go from 15 or 12 to 3 or 4. And if you need a primer on myo reps, there's tons of videos, but the other protocol that we're doing now is 20 to 5. So we're doing a much higher amount of reps, and that equals a lot less loading. So We've kept a little bit of this sort of upper body bodybuilding style stuff in there via the myo reps. The second day, I think, was very minimal. I did a little bit of lower body stuff, some body weight front foot elevated split squats, some body weight step ups, and I think some lat pull downs. And that was it for that day. Yesterday, did some more goblet squats, did some dumbbell stiff leg deadlifts. And again, just looking for really low impact, low load, squat and deadlift pattern movements that I can really feel like I'm getting some work in, put a fair bit of motion and movement into, fair bit of intent. I was running 12s on those, on both movements, and that felt pretty damn good. I did the dumbbell bench, maxed the stack, met Victor up at the 120s, got the 120s for 10. It was a little too easy. We got to get some more dumbbells, Dylan. Incline. Managed some more close grip incline, and the shoulder felt pretty darn good through it, which is happy. Got 225 for 10 or 12 there, I think. So that was also good. And then my strip set chest supported rows, and those were interesting because I had to load them very, very weirdly. Basically, you start with like 6 out of 10, and then take 10 and 20% load drops, 1 minute rest, AMRAPs. That might be just a lot of gibberish for many people, but if that makes sense to you, then try it sometime. This is very fun, as long as you have a bunch of weird plates to load it as such. Now, the word of the day is going to be petulant, for anybody out there who's keeping track and wanting to play along. And we also just want to give a quick shout out to the Calgary Barbell app because it's fantastic. We love it. We work hard on it, and we want you to check it out at calgarybarbell.com. So that's pretty much the week. Heading into probably Westerns here, we'll have 2 to 3 good solid blocks before the competition. Starting off, like I said, with some high bar and some conventional, hopefully being able to push those to a respectable level next block, and feeling really excited, really pumped. Noticing that the vlogs and some of the other videos that we're doing are getting a really good response. So thank you for watching those, sharing them around. We got a video coming out that's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to be really great. Dylan and I are putting a lot of work into it, and I think it's going to be a banger. And we got some apparel coming in November, but that's enough of me. Have a wonderful weekend, whenever this comes out. We love you all, and like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Peace.